Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to episode 14 of this Dyson Sphere Let's Play. This episode will be about doing what we've been talking about for at least 10 or 12 episodes before this, and that is cleaning up our old base. After that, and that will probably be the next episode, we'll start actually expanding our awesome little planet over here. Oh god, isn't this just beautiful? Not just this build, but the planet in general is just my favorite planet ever. Before we can do that, we need to make sure we have our basics up. So let's start cleaning up. Okay, so we're back on our starting planet, and there is a lot of stuff we need to do here. We've built quite a lot of things, as you're aware of. I mean, this is episode 14 after all. We've built quite a few things that basically make the things that we built before that redundant. So we have, for example, better ways to produce yellow science, red science, blue science. This is all basically doing nothing at the moment. Well, not nothing, but not really anything that was actually of import. As you can see, the yellow production is still going, but compared to the other yellow production we have going on, it's not really comparing. We do need to be careful about a few things. We don't want to just take this thing down and run out of ILS and PLS buildings. We have the logistic vessels being produced only here at the moment. We have the drones over here. So there are a few things that we do want to be careful about on just taking them down and then forgetting to replace them, because then we'll run into issues. Of course, we also have our mall over here, and we also want to be careful about when we take that down. So what I will actually be doing is basically taking down pretty much everything initially, stocking up on a few things while I do that, and making sure we don't throw away anything we can still use. And then we'll meet back here and discuss a little bit on how we avoid getting stuck. And it won't be that complicated, but yeah. Just walking you through the process on how to actually upgrade your base. But before we can do that, we will need to take down a lot of stuff. Now, just to give you one point, because I realized that not everyone seems to know this. If you take down buildings that, basically cause your stuff to overflow. So, for example, let's say we do this. Bad example because we don't have an overflow over here. But if we take down things and we drop a lot of stuff on the floor, so let me just do it manually here, for example. Then normally what you do is you take this little icon here and you can hoover up the litter. Now there's a better way of doing this, and that is basically doing the same thing but zooming out. So going to the world view, picking up the litter, and by doing this, you can actually hoover up everything on a very large radius. So that's very convenient doing it like that. It's a lot easier than trying to find all those little things around you by just hovering over your entire screen. So if you're taking down a large amount of buildings, don't forget to do that. It's quite convenient to do it in the way I just showed you. Alright, let me go be Destructo Man over here, and let's meet back here once I've cleaned up. Alright, so I made a mess, and when I say a mess, I mean a huge mess. So there's 17.7k items, so not individual items, but actually like stacks of items all over the floor. Yeah, so that's a lot. The process here, however, is kind of important. So what I did, I literally just went around and took down everything that was not tied to our later builds. And by later builds, what I mean is, for example, the stuff we built over here. So all our neat little factories that we built using the more standardized blueprints with the ILS and PLS setup. Our oil factory is still alive. So everything we basically built since we unlocked ILS and PLS factories is still up and running. I might accidentally have taken down one or two of the miner facilities that were also hooked into other mining facilities, mainly because I really don't want to spend time looking around which belts are Mark 1s and which belts are Mark 2s, Mark 3s. I'd rather just go around and replace all of them. One thing I did not take down just yet is our little mall over here. We will be replacing this, not this episode I think, but what I actually did do is put down a ILS here, which is currently requesting all the base materials on one side, and of course we do have the glass and steel going into the other side, so have the same setup here. Now, we're not actually making glass yet in any of our newer builds. Same holds for stone. I just put in some random stone that I picked up while I was cleaning up. But on the other hand, we don't really need glass or stone for any of the buildings that this is currently producing. Rather than just going around vacuuming up 70k items, or what I'm also not going to do is pressing this button and deleting all this materials, because there's like tens of thousands of oil, for example, in here. There is a huge amount of research. There's all kinds of things here that we don't necessarily just want to throw away. However, rather than going through it and sorting it out right now, what I am going to do is basically set up a few things in such a way that we have the production, we replace the production that we had in terms of drones, ILS, PLS, etc. And then we start cleaning up, because then we can actually just use the items that we're collecting, put them into an ILS or PLS that is actually requesting that, and thereby making sure we don't have a lot of things going to waste. Alright, before I skip to doing that, I will hop around a little bit, search around where we want to place things, and we'll meet right back over here. Alright, I cleared out some space, and it actually happens that just above our old mall we have a nice little bit of space. There was water here, but I cleared it out. Where there's actually not many resources close to that we want to use for a build in this specific location, so I might as well put that to use. Now, there's a few things that we want to build. First and foremost, a replacement for our belts and sorters, because I did take down our earlier build where we were using the previous builds that we made to kind of feed into the belt and sorter production, but now we have something better. This is a one-off build that basically makes sure you're making all the different stages of the sorters, we're making all the different stages of the belts, and we are requesting all the items we need to do so from wherever we're making them. Now, as you can see, we're not actually making all the items yet. So for example, graphene, I completely took out our graphene production. We'll be replacing that soon on this planet, considering this is the planet where we make that stuff. And of course we are making pretty much everything else, but it's currently not being supplied by drones because we haven't put drones in. So this should be filling up if I put drones in. This is also a build that you do want to put in the logistics vessel, so that basically wherever in the universe we're producing this stuff, we can make sure we're always producing belts and we're always producing sorters. Basically, as long as this building is standing, we will never run out of belts and sorters again. You might actually want to consider putting up the maximum for the belts. Now, you can never have such a thing as too many belts and sorters. It depends on what you want, but either way, feel free to put it up a little bit higher or keep it as it stands. That will be enough for the foreseeable future, at least before we really start to make massive builds. Now, this is one thing that we need. Another thing that we need, and I actually have this under my late game builds, is a build for our PLS, because I also took down that very ugly build that we made a little while ago. Now, let's see how far out I need to go in order to build this. Nope. 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 Well, I need to fix that one. Let's see if the other one works. And let's see if the ILS one works. Nope. And I made it in the wrong space of the planet when I first built it. So, be right back and let's have that fixed. And I'll fix the blueprint while I'm at it. Okay. I went a little bit crazy and I didn't just fix this few blueprints, I fixed all of them. So I made a whole new category, late game. I guess we're kind of getting to the late game now, where we're doing the last bit of the research tree, etc. So I just promoting this to late game. I made now a PLS build that should be placeable around here. There we go. I made another build that fixes our ILS production, and that should fit pretty much everywhere, which hopefully includes over here. There we go. So this will make sure we have all our little space stations incoming. And a few things to note about these is that, let me walk a little closer. It is really important that if you build something like this yourself, that you set these maximums to a low amount. The inputs doesn't really matter that much, but you do really want to set the amount of production for these things. Well, 100 of these is going to last you a long time, so don't put it any higher than that. And of course, don't forget to actually put in vessels and drones in it, so you can make sure this is actually being supplied. And another thing is, don't forget to set the minimum load of vessels very low, so you are always resupplying wherever you're requesting them. Now, one more thing. Also set the drones really low, so that at least the drones are carrying off the PLS one to this one. Because of course, to build an ILS, you need the PLS. So again, set these maximums to very low. This means the planetary logistics station being requested here by 100 is the minimum amount you need to set. Already means that you are going to produce 100 and put them in here, and there's another 100 being put in there. So that's 200 already, so don't put it any higher than that. Now, these things are, well, not useless by themselves, but we do of course want to supply them with drones and vessels. So in order to do that, there's the other two builds that I made. One for the vessels that we will put, let's say, over here. And then another one for the drones. Oh, it's actually already flipped. That we can probably fit in over here. And the reason I'm putting them over here is because these need a few things. They need some basic materials, so copper and iron, which we can build in if we want to. They need some, what are these called? Processors. Sorry, blanked out there for a moment. And as you can actually tell, we actually just ran out of belts because I was making blueprints, deleting them, but didn't have inventory space to actually pick up my belts again. So I will need to go back, or maybe I can just actually steal a few belts from this little production center that we just put up. Remember, if you go into the planet, the world view, not these. There we go. 500 belts already waiting for me. If you go into the world view, you can pick up stuff from your interplanetary and planetary logistics centers from wherever you are in the world. So that is very convenient. Now let's see, is this already working? No, it's not, because we haven't actually put in drones, we haven't put in vessels, so let's do that. And as you can see, there's now stuff incoming. We haven't actually built alloy yet, so titanium alloy, because we took down our previous build. So that is the next thing we'll start replacing. Same holds for here. Let's not forget to put in drones and as well as vessels. And that should start bringing in pretty much everything and start making us a lot of drones. So that fixes that. Then the last thing we need to do is basically just go around the entire planet, set up production centers for all the remaining things that we need. There isn't that much resources on this planet. It's mostly about the coal and about the oil. So those two things are what I will set up. And again, I think you get the gist by now, so I won't have you sit through that. But just to wrap up this episode, let's meet back once I finish that. Okay, and so here we are. We pretty much stepped into every single resource on the planet. Not all of them, some of them are just in out of the way places, and yeah, stepping into every single lost copper and things like that is not that important. But I did build several oil platforms. Let's just take a tour around the planet and see what we've got. So I have the graphite, graphene, as well as titanium alloy production over here, along with a nice little batch of oil production, as well as hydrogen stock. What I actually did in this case was kind of like hacking our own system again. Hydrogen tends to stock up initially. We'll be fixing that very soon, but for the moment it's filling up over here. I have it coming out of this oil production facility, I have the storage over here, but I'm feeding it back into this one that just happened to be here, that had an open space, and this is now providing hydrogen. So if we need hydrogen, it's going to be picked up not only from the oil production, but also from this one. So there's just another little way of making sure you have resources available across your planet. Or system, I should say, actually. We have, for some reason, we're producing acid over there. Well, we would want to be producing graphene, so that's fixed. We have the acid over here, and we're feeding it straight into the graphene. We do the same over here, we're feeding it into the titanium alloy. The titanium is actually being imported from the other planets, so we don't have it here, so we have some vessels flying on that one. We have, let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, I built some massive stone production. Not that we need that much stone, but we do need some, and we took down all the earlier builds, so there you go, stone. If we're making stone, we should also be making... Why is this not connecting? Okay, I'll fix that in a moment. Anyway, we are building stone over here, we're building glass over here as well, and glass turns into prisms, so I figured why not just make a little prism build here as well. We'll need those for future builds, so now we're just making them over here, and we have plenty of stockpile to go. I found out that we actually had some surplus copper around the place, so I tapped into those and made that build over here. You remember, of course, our earlier builds with the vessels, the drones. We have the ILS and PLS being built over here and being supplied everywhere. Let's see. These are all our previous builds, but this is new. Actually, this one isn't. This is our old water build. We have one, of course, near the acid production as well. As you can see, this is all nicely humming along. We have an additional oil build over here that's not actually feeding into anything, but we had some resources left over, so might as well just tap into them. We're still researching things. I actually found out that the yellow research stopped there for a moment because I wasn't feeding enough titanium into it, so I fixed that while I was at it. And I think that was a whole tour around the planet, so it's more work than it looks like, honestly. I also put in some solar panels. As you can see, they're now lighting up, and you can tell we're a little low on power since I just built a few things, and those ILSs are still charging. But it's mostly the ILSs, so everything is working at nearly top speed. And as you can see, we're generating around 300, 350, depending a little bit on where the solar panels are. I didn't go out of my way to kind of build it all around the planet. I still have plenty of solar panels left, actually. I took in 1,000, so apparently I built over 1,000 solar panels around the planet already. And then I was kind of bored with that. So this should be enough power to last this planet. This is pretty much the only thing we will be building on this planet. And I decided to leave our little mall intact over here. So just as kind of a monument to the past, I'll keep this alive. It's being fed resources through the ILS over here and over there. We won't actually be actively using this, but you could if you wanted to. Because we will be building a better mall on our other planet, which will be kind of becoming our main home. So join me in episode 15, I think that is, if I have my count correct, for several new builds. I guess this episode wasn't that much new, but it is one of those phases where you have to go through where you're kind of tapping in most of the resources around your planet. And that's what we did. You see here and there's one or two left. But all in all, this planet is now pretty much optimized. And then we move on to the next planet where we have a lot more building space. And we start focusing on the endgame stuff. So, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're still here at episode 14, I assume you liked stuff. So, it's always nice to see people subscribing and commenting on my videos. So, yeah, if you can take a moment to do so, it would be very helpful. It also helps out the channel because it makes sure that other people get to see this as well. And I will catch you in the next one.